I'm Margaret Akwetey. I bring you greetings from Ghana. I'm the representative of Africa Center of Excellence in Coastal Resilience, ACECO, at the University of Cape Coast, Ghana. It's a shame I could not join you in person, but I'm happy to use this platform to present our research to you on juvenile bycatch from beach seine fishing along the coast of Ghana, focusing on the implications for fisheries. Beach seine is a a traditional fishing practice on the coast of West Africa and other parts of the world. In Ghana, there are about 1,000 beach seine nets, and the fisheries contribute to more than 40% of Ghana's artisanal fish catch. Beach seine is a source of income, it's a source of food, and also of cultural heritage in Ghana. The importance of the fisheries in Ghana is nicely described by CRAN 2006. Despite its importance, beach seine has been associated with physical disturbances to habitat. This has been seen on seagrass beds, in coral reefs, in rocky shores, etc. There isn't much done on the impact of beach seine in developing countries. There is the notion that the impact of beach seine is negligible in developing countries. However, more research is needed to actually investigate whether this is true or not. In Ghana, few studies have been done on the impact of beach seine on commercial fisheries. Nunu, in his investigation of beach seine catch, saw or recorded juveniles of important and commercially important fish species in the catch. Nunu and Amaka also reported 18 species of macroalgae and some invertebrates in beach seine discards. Adongo similarly, examining beach seine discards, found 4 families of jellyfishes and over 2,700 individuals. There is no particular study concentrating on the macrofauna composition in beach seine discards, and this is where this study comes in. It focuses on documenting the macrofauna constituents in beach seine discards and its potential impact on commercial fisheries. The study was carried out in 3 coastal regions in Ghana. In the Volta region, the location was Jelukope. Bear in mind that beach seine was first introduced in Ghana in the Volta region in the 19th century by European merchants. This is where there is the highest pressure of beach seine fishing activities. There was another location in the Greater Accra region where the nation's capital is located. This location has 6 units of beach seines compared to the Volta region location, Jelukope, where there are 36 units. Then there was a location in Cape Coast at the beach called Duako, where there are 16 beach seine units. The discards were 1-liter bottles were used to collect the discards and sent to the lab. Sampling was done over a period of 6 months, wet season and dry season. Since we concentrated on discards, this is generally what was done. So usually when the net is hauled, it is mixed up, the fish is mixed up with other organisms. You have algae, you have debris, you have plastic, sand, all sorts. So they are sorted, the fish taken out, and the rest of the discards are deposited on the beach, especially at the supratidal region, and they walk away. Since we are concentrating on macrofauna, many of the species or specimens investigated were within a size range of 1 millimeter, except for the worms that were a bit longer. So samples were fixed, sent to the lab in UCC for processing and identified to the lowest possible taxa. Percentage abundances were also computed for the various taxa encountered. To assess the potential impact of beach seine on commercial fisheries, we did some computations and we used cuttlefish eggs, which were the most dominant specimen in this study. So we used the following formulae to extrapolate for the potential impact on the fishery. So overall, 91 species of macrofauna were encountered in the 6 month period of sampling. And this species had no chance of survival. The 91 species, in terms of individuals, almost 30,000 individuals, were discarded at the supratidal region where there isn't much influence of tide, so the organisms just dry out and die. Disposing discards at supratidal region is not a case of Ghana. It happens all over the world, in Portugal and the rest. But there is so much biodiversity that is lost by this. So looking at the abundance of each species, cuttlefish eggs were dominant in the dry season. They were completely absent in the wet season, and spatially, they constituted more than half of the specimen collected at Chelukope in the Volta region, but they were equally abundant at the other two sites. And then the two species that were also dominant aside the cuttlefish eggs were our two bivalves, Gary species and Pindata radiata. These species are important protein source. They have commercial value, and Pindata radiata, for instance, is the primary source for the black pearls. So in areas such as Fiji, for instance, they are cultured just because of their pearls. We already know the values of cuttlefish. They are important protein. They have medicinal values, etc. We also try to look at the commercial value of the species that were encountered in this study. We concentrated on those that are above 1% in terms of abundances. And again, a number of them have commercial values. So looking at the species that have more than 1% abundance and are of commercial value, 16 species are in this category. And these 16 species constituted 85% of the discards. 85% in terms of numbers, 85%. And this substantial portion of discards were mainly eggs and larvae of commercially important species. And this highlights the potential of loss of protein to the Ghanaian people, and also the economic loss to the Ghanaian. Now we try to assess the impact of beach seine or the loss of cuttlefish on the economy. Bear in mind, fisheries contributes 4.5% to Ghana's GDP and supports more than 2 million livelihoods. The protein requirement in Ghana as of 2008 is 810,000 tons, the fish requirement. And Ghana produces 440 tons. This 440 tons includes aquaculture. Marine capture fish produces only 290,000 tons of this production. But a lot of organisms or commercially important fish species have their larvae and eggs being thrown away every day, which at the end of the day affects the total production. Bear in mind, minimum wage in Ghana is $1.16. Now, when we did the extrapolation, if these cuttlefish eggs were allowed to grow into adults, a fisherman would have lost, or a fisherman loses $4 if they were sold locally. And if they were sold internationally, a fisherman loses $10, which is way, way, way above the minimum wage. In conclusion, discards composed of juveniles and eggs of commercially important species, as other researchers have seen and documented, and substantial amount of money is lost as a result of beach seine discards, because there are many macrofauna in the discards that are thrown away on a regular basis, and these macrofauna are juveniles of commercially important fish species. More investigation is needed into the impact of beach seine fisheries in Ghana, especially on the country's commercial fisheries and also on marine biodiversity. And in this study, we realized in terms of cuttlefish, for instance, there were spatial variations where about 50% of what was the specimen found in Jelukope in the Volta region were cuttlefish eggs compared to the rest of the places, which means there are areas that should be avoided or where beach seine fisheries should be banned. So more study is necessary to identify these sensitive coastal areas where beach seine could be reduced or banned. The paper is still in preparation and will be submitted to a journal soon. Opportunity to express my gratitude to National Geographic Society for funding this research, and also to my employers, to the University of Cape Coast, to the Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Sciences, and also to ISCO. I would also like to thank these three personalities for making it possible for me to make this presentation to you today. Thank you so much for your attention.